IPMNation.com.
Previously on Angry Drunk Tales.
Spend a lot of time around here, do you? Now, if you'll excuse me, I got something better to do than sit around and talk to you.
Be angry.
Let me buy you a drink.
Well, I thought this place had some standards. You know, they'll let anybody in here nowadays.
Listen, don't pretend that you knew that there was that much oil there. Well, you're wrong.
Win some, lose one or two, you know how it is.
Me write angry emails.
I must have you worried. I must have you really worried.
I'm shaking in my boots.
Episode 41. Prove your manhood and come work out with me.
Me still angry. Me continue to write long, rambling, drunken emails. Me continue to be angry over incident several weeks ago. Me have emotional intelligence of 5-year-old child. Me bitter and frustrated with myself over being drunken 300-pound tub of shit. Me undiagnosed paranoid schizophrenic. Me
Mr. Head.
Me write angry emails. Me hate everyone.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 41 of Angry Drunk Tales. I almost said the original name of the show. I'm Matt Connerton.
I'm Jen Coffey. You're getting confused today, aren't you?
Yeah, well, you know, I before we sat down to tape this week's episodes, I had a stunning realization when I realized that we might actually catch up to the present day this week with our dramatic readings.
Very possible.
Because we're now up to, as I mentioned in our Friday cliffhanger at the end of episode 40, that we actually are up to September 7th. Granted, September 7th was a day of a total of 12 emails from our protagonist, a couple of which we already read, and then he began a new thread with another 10 emails, all sent in one evening or early morning, as they all came in after midnight.
After midnight.
Yeah,
No, I can't help it. I'm sorry.
So after midnight on September 7th. So what will happen is if we do actually get caught up to the present day, if he actually stops emailing us, and it's been more than 10 days, I think. It's been a record since we got the last email from him. Well, no, it hasn't been 10 days. But the last email we did get from him was all just one long email.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's been more like a week, but you know, maybe he's finally figured it out that the only way this show is ever going to end is if he stops emailing us. So if he has figured that out, then this show, I know I had originally said, I think we're going to have more than 100 episodes, but then the reality is,
It's going to be more like 45-ish.
yeah, we would easily have more
50.
we would easily have more than 100, maybe even 150 if we literally had just read one email per episode.
That's very true.
But
there were many episodes where we were reading 3 and 4 emails.
Yeah, because the thing is, once we get into doing the show, this show has been so much fun and so therapeutic for us that it's been hard to stick to the original format and to really have that discipline of only doing one email per episode. So sometimes if they're a little bit shorter, you know, we'll do a few. But of course, when there's just one really long, rambling, drunken, insane email, then we just feature one email, one dramatic reading per episode. But we are on September 7th, and at this point in the story, our former roommate, both former roommates are fully aware of the program. And what's interesting about this new thread titled Leaving Late that we receive on September 7th is that it sounds like there's a bunch of these. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 emails in succession that are really short by his standards, just a couple of sentences. And then after that first 5, they gradually get longer. But it sounds like initially, he was emailing us as he was listening to the show, now that he's fully aware that there's an entire show about him.
Yeah.
So, because it's like he writes these emails as though he's responding to things that he's hearing. It's pretty funny. So what we'll do is, for this episode, we'll go through that first 5 or 6, and and then we'll save part of that day for the next episode. But we got to do a bunch of these because a bunch of these are actually really short. So we will begin. So the first one in this thread, titled "Leaving Late," is at 2:41 a.m. So think about that. So he's sitting at his computer, probably on his second 12-pack or whatever that he got from the convenience store around the corner, and and he's probably just he's drunk and he's angry. Can you imagine how angry he must have been when he first learned that not only did
I wish I could have seen it.
Yeah, not only does he think we stole a $300 pair of boots and entered his apartment and took a $3 item and didn't give his keys back and blah, 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 blah. Now there's actually a show, an entire show dedicated to him where we read his emails.
He'd be happy about that,
Well, he wanted to be a published author.
There's one way to get your writing published.
That's right.
That's right.
Can you imagine what must have gone through his mind when he realized this? It's hard to contemplate because what we've done here is really unique. Have you ever heard of such a thing? Lots of people have shitty roommate stories, but what we've done is really unique and original. Not to pat ourselves on the back, but you got to admit.
Oh, why not? It's so much fun.
It is. It is. Again, you can tell from what he writes that he was probably just listening to the show and responding as he listened. So, and the reason the title of the thread is Leaving Late is a reference to the day that we moved out on July 26th. We picked a Sunday because that's one of the days that he always closes at the restaurant. And he usually leaves... he has to be there at 4. So he usually leaves between 3:30 and 3:45. That's when his ride picks him up. But that day, he was across the street, sort of down the street a little bit, watching us move. So, and we had some speculations about maybe he had swapped shifts because he figured it out that something was up and that we were moving that day. So maybe he swapped shifts with someone, and he helpfully clarifies all of that for us in these emails. All right, so the first one again, this was at 2:41 a.m. He wrote, "I did not swap shifts. One of my conditions you can tell he was drunk because the email isn't written smoothly with his normal prose. Actually, drunk is his normal prose, but I did not swap shifts. One of my conditions to work at Brothers is that I get a ride. Yes, I am that important to the owner and the manager as I was the previous manager. Stop trying to overthink shit, asshole. I was actually glad to see you go. That day was a good day for me. I still want my fucking boots back." So he's still stuck on the boots. He thinks we stole his boots, which we absolutely did not. I don't know anything about these boots. And he makes it sound like they send a limo for him or something. One of my conditions to go back there was that I get a ride. I get picked up because I'm so important. So this was at 2:41. Then, let's see. Oh, and by the way, these are just to me. I forgot to mention that. These aren't going to the group or to you. He's writing these specifically to me. So then 2 minutes later at 2:43 a.m., he writes, entered her room to turn off an AC that was running without no one in it for 3 days. Fuck you all. Not one of you were concerned about my bills, cleaning the house, or taking out trash. You people were all losers. Then, at 2:44 a.m., 1 minute later, see, this is what I mean. He was writing these as he's listening to the show. He writes, "You are just making shit up about me." Yeah, yes, as we take things out of context by reading the emails he wrote to us verbatim. Then, 1 minute after that, at 2:45 a.m., he writes, "By the way, she stole my /
Napoleon Bonaparte.
his AC, whichever it was, and his chair and ottoman as well." That's funny, coming from the guy who tried to put all his stuff out on the curb.
He did put all his stuff out on the curb.
Yeah.
Well, the stuff
Or
that
in
he
the
didn't
hallway.
put in the hallway.
Yeah. Now he's accusing Angela of taking furniture. Then, oh wow, he waited a full 2 minutes before the next one at 2:47 a.m. And by the way, the guy sending us all these emails at close to 3 a.m. in the morning, again, is the same gentleman who's threatening to sue us for cyberbullying. So at 2:47 a.m. he writes, "You are blaming me for a Viagra ad on your page? You can't even admit I got your page pulled. Keep it up. I can have your entire show pulled." So now he's back to the threats. And of course the Viagra ad refers to the very day that we moved out later that night. Your original website, gencoffee.com, the previous version of it that was up, was hacked, and someone put Viagra ads on it. And,
Yeah, it was kind of boring.
and we don't think it's a coincidence. And of course we make fun of that because of all the unoriginal, unfunny things that he could do, he chose to do that.
Right.
I'm sure he thought he was very clever. I'm going to put Viagra ads on her page.
It's kind of, that went out a long time ago.
Yeah.
People stopped making Viagra jokes a while ago.
Oh, but he's so creative.
I know. I'm waiting to see it.
And then the next email, now he writes a full paragraph. And this goes to, those previous short ones were specifically to me. This goes to me and to you, Jen, and to
Napoleon Bonaparte.
the other previous roommate, and his little peer group of friends who think that he is just Mr. Wonderful.
He is his own god and
Yes.
can walk on water.
And to all of us, he writes this. The AC was given to me by
Napoleon Bonaparte.
the day I looked at the apartment.
Napoleon Bonaparte.
Admits that Angela stole it. Like you all stole my $300 boots. And I told you the locks were changed well into August, long after you had left. You had not paid August's rent, so you had no right to entry whatsoever. Grow up, asshole. This is how you deal with confrontation? Come see me in person. If you have an issue with me, we can work out right here. You liar, loser, and leech. You think you look good because you can spout off on the internet? Good for you. Prove your manhood. I attempted to give over the lease and security deposit to you losers, and you instead decided to follow this path, saying shit about me on the internet, basically? Well, so be it. Have fun with it. At the end of the day, it just proves what users and losers you really are. So that went to the group.
Yeah, he told us, didn't he?
So a few interesting things about that. For one thing, so he's listening, obviously he was listening to the show, and he hears us talking about how we threw out our keys because on July 26th, or actually July 27th, because it was certainly after midnight that he emailed us, he said he was changing the locks in the morning. Because we hadn't all left our keys. So he's just flat out lying and we can prove it because obviously we have the email. We read the email where he told us he was changing the locks immediately. So he's just flat out lying when he says, I told you the locks were changed well into August, long after you had left. That's bullshit. Well, that might have been the third or fourth time he talked about changing the locks, but he originally told us he was changing them immediately after we moved out.
Yep. The very next day.
Yeah, and we can prove it because we have the email.
All you gotta do is go back a few go back a few episodes and listen.
Yeah. Also, it sounds like he's challenging me to fight him.
He tries to do that a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, because he says, come see me in person if you have an issue with me. And then he says, but it's funny, he doesn't say we can work it out right here. He says we can work out right here. And work out is in all caps. I have a theory about that. You know how we've speculated that maybe part of the problem, part of his issue is he's, secretly gay for me?
Yeah.
I think he wants me to go there and work out with him with his Bowflex. I think he was trying to say we'll work. I think he's trying to say
don't go there again.
He wants me in that room shirtless, working out, getting my glistening sweat all over his Bowflex. Because think about it. So he obviously meant to write work it out right here, but instead he simply writes work out in all caps. I think subconsciously he was fantasizing about me working out with him.
Ew. That's just wrong.
We can work out right here.
Wrong. Awful, wrong, gross.
We can do some squats and
I need counseling
pull-ups
to
and
get that out of my head. Jeez.
Yeah.
That's awful.
I bet he dreams about me and wakes up all sticky in the morning.
Oh. Gross.
No wonder he's so mad.
Well, he's definitely something.
Yeah. So anyway, we have 4 more emails from that night, but let's save those for episode 42.
Yes.
So in the meantime, if you're
Mr. Ed's
new roommate, and by the way, I hope you're enjoying working out with him and his Bowflex. While we are not ourselves religious people, we will say to you only this: may God help you and keep you safe. Good night.
Night.
IPMNation.com